Hello, this is Eric. Today is March the 13th, 2023. And in this video, we'll be learning about the Dutra government. Okay? If you watched our previous class, our previous video, you learned about the Vargas era, right? And at the end of the Vargas era, we saw that Vargas fought together with the United States and other nations against Germany, Italy, and Japan, which were countries, presided by totalitarian leaders. However, Getúlio Vargas was a totalitarian leader. So, at the end of the war, he really found himself in a tight spot. Really, he, more and more he lost support. And, well, he kind of forwarded, the country into a path of return to democracy, right? And by August of 1945, his minister of war, Eurico Gaspar Dutra, was conspiring against him. He was informed of that, and he actually fired Dutra, right? He overthrew Dutra. And, but even so, really, the end of Getúlio Vargas in power was already determined. It was just a matter of time. But before being overthrown, he was able to pick a candidate, right? And, to support, knowing that in the next elections, he could return, to the presidency. And it would be very important that he chose the right one. Getúlio Vargas was a clever guy. So he decided, even after overthrowing Dutra, a little after that, he decided to support Dutra. Why? Because the other candidate, Eduardo Gomes, he was a lieutenant, and he was the favorite. He was the one that, according to the polls, was really, the most, the candidate that had the best chances, to become president. The problem is that Eduardo Gomes, at a few days before the voting, did a very, very I would say, unfortunate speech in which he criticized the mass of workers, the proletariat of Brazil, saying that he didn't need their votes. And that was used against him in a really bad way. So when Getúlio Vargas realized that, he decided to support Dutra. Right? Why? Because he knew that in normal conditions, Dutra would not be able, to overcome Getúlio Vargas in the elections. Remember from our previous video that many workers still wanted Getúlio Vargas to become re-elected. Right? But that could not happen because, Getúlio was losing more and more support, and he ended up being overthrown, and, he was replaced by José Linhares, right, from the Supreme Court. But before that, he was able to support Dutra, and he prepared, a return in the future against a candidate or against a scenario that would be favorable to him in terms of, in terms of the number of voters that would desire to have Getúlio back as president. Okay, so I have prepared a few videos, as I told you in our last video. From Getúlio Vargas onward, we have, more material. We have not only good photos, but we have nice videos. So I'm going to make use of these videos, to support my own classes, right? And I hope you enjoy them. Basically, I'm voicing over these videos. These videos originally made in Portuguese, and I hope you enjoy them. Here in the beginning, we will show you something, some more information about Eurico Gaspar Dutra, the president that would be ahead of Brazil after Getúlio Vargas' new state. Okay, so let's check it out. Marshal Eurico Gaspar Dutra was born in 1886 in Cuiabá. He entered the Army School in 1902. In 1935, he was the commander of the 1st Military Region in Rio de Janeiro. He was appointed as Minister of War by Getúlio Vargas in 1936, and he remained there for 10 years. He organized the Brazilian Expeditionary Force and received many condecorations. Elected as President of the Republic in 1946, he promulgated the 5th Brazilian Constitution. He formed the hydroelectric company, he built the Paulo Afonso plant and the Dutra highway linking São Paulo and Rio de Janeiro by asphalt. He acquired petroleum ships and built the first oil refinery. He intensified the Brazil-United States relationship. Well, guys, here you have Marshal Eurico Gaspar Dutra, now President Eurico Gaspar Dutra, right? And well, now we're gonna, we're gonna check out more details of his term, right, as president. So we had now after José Linhares assumed the presidency on an interim basis, we have the victory of Eurico Gaspar Dutra, and here you have him assuming power as president, okay? Right. So the first thing that really our president Eurico Gaspar Dutra started working on right after he assumed as president of Brazil was, he began to work hard on the new constitution, the 1946 constitution. And by the way, I think I made a mistake in the video about, the first video about Gaspar Dutra, because I said I voiced over saying that he was born in 1886, and actually it was 1885. But anyway, if I made this mistake, I do apologize, but it's not really, such a big mistake. But anyway, let's continue here. So we had then right after Eurico Gaspar Dutra became president, we had the new constitution promulgated, right, in an assembly. So in this new constitution, which was quite similar to the constitution from 1934, this was the 5th constitution of Brazil, right? As I said, it was promulgated. In this constitution, we had the establishment, again, of a republic. Presidentialism would be the political model in Brazil, and it would be marked by the 5 years of its duration, okay? We have, again, the independence of the 3 powers, and concerning voting, we have the compulsory universal vote for those who are literate and over 18. Again, women would vote, and we had votes for president and vice president. Again, remember that vice president voting had been, extinguished by Vargas, but now it's back again. People would vote for president and vice president as well, right? Well, Eurico Gaspar Dutra really aligned Brazil with the USA. This is really important to say, right? We are in the context of the Cold War. Okay, the world is experiencing, this terrible phase called the Cold War, right? And Brazil decided, to be aligned with the USA. As a consequence, we disrupted diplomatic relations with the USSR and all the socialist countries, right? We had the closure of the PCB party, also PCB politicians were impeached, right? And this is a time when Brazil opens its economy for the USA, right? So you will have a bunch of imported products here from the USA, products such as Cadillacs, yo-yos, Coke, and all that stuff from the USA. And that was really dreadful for the country. We faced a great, after 2 years of, being totally open for imports, Brazil experienced a trade deficit. All the money that, Getulio managed to save, right, during, his new state period was basically was turned into vapor by Eurico Gaspar Dutra. And that increased the cost of living in Brazil, right? Also, Eurico Gaspar Dutra prohibited strikes, right? And he intervened in a powerful way, I would say, in trade unions, right? And the way these trade unions behaved. And well, here you have, the invasion of non-durable consumer products imported from the U.S. and Brazil, Coke, all this stuff here, matches and Cadillacs and yo-yos and all that stuff. So really, it was not good for the country. Really, really, really. Well, anyway, after these 2 years, we had lost a lot of money, so they realized that something should be done. However, it was a little late, I would say. But even so, they came up with the SALTI plan. This is an acronym in Portuguese that stands for S as in health, AL as in food, T as in transport or transportation, and E as in education. No. Energy. Why education? You don't need to learn. You don't need to understand things properly. You need energy to work, to produce. And, well, this is a plan that aimed to coordinate and prioritize public spending in the areas of health, food, transport, and energy. However, as I told you, when the government woke up to the reality that it needed to change something, it was a little late, right? It was around the third year of the term, right? And then they decided, to start working on the SALT plan. And as examples of the implementation of this plan, we have the paving of the Rio de Janeiro-São Paulo highway, the so-called Dutra highway here in Brazil, a very famous one. We have the Rio de Janeiro-Bahia highway opening, right? And we have the installation of the San Francisco Hydroelectric Company, Paulo Afonso Bahia 1, right? 1. And, well, I'm going to show you some videos here, to show you a little bit more about that. Let me choose it here. Enjoy it. Since its inauguration in 1951, the highway went through transformations that accompanied the economic growth of the country. Around 25 million people in 36 municipalities dwell around the 402 kilometers of extension of the old highway that is now called President Dutra Highway. When it was inaugurated with the most modern concepts at the time. It reduced the travel time from São Paulo to Rio de Janeiro in 111 kilometers. It's really amazing. So we had this concept that was really well structured for the highway. It was a single lane, two-way highway all over its extension. But even so, it was a reference all over the country. The modernization and safety came with the privatization as of 1996. It was the first Brazilian highway concession. And then we had the CCR company facing the challenge of transforming it right in its first 180 days. And since then, we have invested 22 billion reais in the highway so that it could be transformed into this logistics aisle. The BR-116 segment that starts on the Margaridas Clover in Rio de Janeiro goes to the present Dutra Bridge in São Paulo. The Dutra Highway, as it is known, is responsible for the transportation of over 50% of the gross domestic product of Brazil. That is, more than half of the richness produced in the country passes by here. This bus company has been transporting passengers from the city of São Paulo to the Vale do Paraíba cities since before the existence of the highway, and it is proud of being part of the 70 years of the Dutra Highway. In 1939, we began to link São Paulo and Rio de Janeiro through the Rio-São Paulo Road that was parallel to the highway that we have today. From 1915 onward, we began to use it, linking São Paulo to the Vale do Paraíba. The company was so linked to the highway that it had to change its name. We used to be called Bluebird. But even before Dutra had been paved, we would go through our segments on the dirt roads. And because of that, the buses would get dirty and the children would nickname us the Brown Bird. And we ended up sticking to this name. Right, let me see another one here. The works that the São Francisco hydroelectric power plants have been doing on the shores of the Paulo Afonso waterfalls are really noteworthy. The house for employees, the sheds where we have the offices, and the huge water tank, as well as the workshops and the warehouses, can give one an idea of the huge venture implemented there, which is one of the greatest ones of the current president of the Republic. A detail of the presidential village of President Dutra that is about to be concluded and that will serve the directors of the company and employees here. The Alves de Souza village, intended for the category employees at the service of the great organization. The houses are standardized and are located in a picturesque and privileged site. The hydroelectric company gives special attention to the social assistance sphere, as can be evidenced by the school intended for the employees' children. The building is sober and has full facilities. The congressmen visiting the works of the hydroelectric company are running the school facilities and having a great impression on it. At the back of the building intended for the school, we also have another building aimed to the floriculture works. As one can clearly see, this building shows the tenderness and love that the company shows towards the social issues. The visit to the warehouse where the school provisionally works until the building is completed was a pleasant surprise to the congressmen and directors of the company, as they were received by the students duly uniformed, showing the zeal for the educational task implemented there. Senator Apolonio Salles, one of the members of the comitive, uses the occasion to address the students with incentive words, clarifying to them the mission that are up to the men and women of tomorrow. Another important work is the ambulatory complex intended for the employees of the company with its improvements. Every day, the children receive free milk in an amount that is enough for their nourishment. The parliamentaries do not hide the great impression they had during the visit of the ambulatory site. The hydroelectric company of San Francisco has a fleet of vehicles at the height of its necessity. Very well. Well, as I told you, Eurico Gaspar Dutra, really, he, we cannot say that he was a really good president, right? The country increased his indebtedness. Inflation was, also increasing. And also, the fact that, the government opened up Brazil, for imported products from the USA, the fact that we received so many imported products here made us really extinguish all the money saved during the Getúlio Vargas new state period, right? So when the government, woke up, it was too late, right? But even so, they managed, to build, the Dutra highway, as we showed you, and also the hydroelectric company, Paulo Afonso first. And it was good. We cannot say that it was not a good thing. But was it what a country needed? Well, not exactly. And was it enough for him to remain, as president of the country? No way. So here we have this poster of Getúlio Vargas. By the end of the Eurico Gaspar Dutra term, Getúlio Vargas was working on his return as president, and here you read in Portuguese, Brazilian Labor Party, right? He will be back. Brazilians, do not assume commitments with reactionary politicians. He will be back, conducted by the people. Yeah, so that's the atmosphere in Brazil by the end of Eurico Gaspar Dutra's term. And, well, the inevitable happened, right? Getúlio Vargas won with, the PTB and PSD alliance against, again, Eduardo Gomes, and his National Democratic Union Party, right? So in our next video, we will talk about the new term of Getúlio Vargas as president of Brazil. Okay, thank you so much, and see you in our next video.